Now we're going to go ahead and talk about how to solve exponential equations. And in order to do that, you do need to remember some basics of exponents, so some of the laws of exponents. For instance, we've already talked about these first two, where b to the 0 is always 1 and b to the first is always b. But you also need to remember that when you multiply two of the same base, you can add the exponents together to simplify it. When you're dividing, you would subtract exponents. When you're raising a base to an exponent to another exponent, you multiply the exponents. And then we did briefly talk about this one, but anything to a negative exponent, you can rewrite as the reciprocal, so 1 over b to the n. And we'll see how this works in practice. So for this first problem, first thing I want to do, and I accidentally missed that, sorry, but the first thing I want to do is actually get the same base on both sides, and then we'll use these laws to solve it. So for number 1, right now we have a base of 3. You'll notice that 9 is the same thing as 3 squared, meaning 1 over 9 is the same as 3 to the negative second power. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these as 3 to the 2x minus 3 is equal to 3 to the negative second power. Once the bases are the same, you actually can just get rid of them and just go ahead and say 2x minus 3 equals negative 2. So I'm just taking the exponents, and then I'm going to solve that. So add 3 to both sides, and then I'll divide by 2. And there's your answer. X just is 1/2. So let's do another one. Same idea, 2 and 4. Well, I know 4 is the same thing as 2 squared. And we're taking that 2 squared and raising it to the x power, right? Because there's already an x right there. So we have 2 to the x squared equals 2. Now when you have an exponent raised to another exponent, you just multiply them. So 2 times x is 2x. And then once again, I can just get rid of the bases since they're now the same. And I can just say x squared equals 2x. Now since I have an x squared term and a term with an x, I know I have to set it equal to 0 so I can factor. So I'll factor out an x, because there should be 2 answers according to the square. So I have x equals 0 and x equals positive 2, because I just find the zeros of both of those. All right, let's do a few more. So we've got a couple bases. We've got 3 to the first power right here. That's important to know that. And then we've got this 9, which is the same thing as 3 squared. And then we've got this 27, which is the same thing as 3 to the third. Okay, so we've got 3 to the first times 3 squared to the x plus 1, because remember it's still raised to that. And this all equals 3 to the third raised to the x. So I have 3 to the first multiplied by, and we do need to multiply, so it's going to be 3 to the 2x plus 2, because that's the rule for that one, is equal to 3 to the 3x. Now before I drop the bases, I do have to make sure there's just one base per side. So this is where I'm going to use my little rule that when you have two of the same base that are multiplied together, you add the exponents. So this would be the same thing as 3 raised to the 2x plus 3. And then now I can drop the bases. So I have 2x plus 3 equals 3x, and I can solve that by subtracting 2x. So 3 is equal to x. Now on to my favorite bases. These are, I think, the easiest ones. I'm going to zoom in because it's my favorite. Because for the most part, they're already base e. I don't have to change anything. I just need to use the exponential rules. So right here, remember, if I'm raising an exponent to an exponent, it's raising an entire, I should say not an exponent to an exponent. That's different. When I'm raising e to the third to another exponent, you multiply those exponents. This is on the denominator, so you can rewrite it so it's a negative 2. I need to get these to be the same base, so just one base. So I'm going to do e to the x squared minus, or plus 3x equals e to the negative 2. And now that I have one base per side, I drop those bases, and I have x squared plus 3x equals negative 2. Since I have an x squared term, a quadratic, and a linear term, I need to get everything to one side, and then I'm going to factor. So this is x plus 2, x plus 1. So we get x equals negative 2 and negative 1, because I just take those zeros. And that is it.